Hey loves, welcome back to Day Spills Tea. I, of course, am the lovely Day. And I forgot to tell y'all last week about how incredibly awkward it was when I am sitting in a meeting at work and my boss says, "Hey, did you all know Day has a YouTube channel?" And one of my coworkers decides to start playing one of my videos right there in the conference room in the meeting. It's cool. I'm very, very proud of what I do because we have so much fun here on my channel. And I love that we interact and we actually do have a little back and forth dialogue every single time I post a video. Thank you all so much for participating in that. Also, if you didn't catch my guest appearance on Black Media Podcast last week, we talked about part 1 of the reunion. So definitely check that out and be sure to subscribe to their podcast or follow their podcast because it's really, really good stuff. They talk about a whole lot more shows and things than I am able to get to. And it's just a real, real good time. Okay, with that being said, we are here to talk about part 2 of this Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion for season 3. And I gotta say, I am enjoying this reunion. Like, of all the reality show reunions we have seen, this has probably been like amongst one of my very, very favorite reunion shows. We got a little more juiciness in this episode. Not quite as much as I was expecting. I really wanted to see Lewis try to buck back up at Kimmi, but he backed down and basically repeated the same mess he had said previously. It wasn't no whole different conversation like he claimed it was going to be. Okay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I got to ask y'all to do y'all part and go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Show me some love. You know I do it for the love. Make sure you leave some comments down below like y'all always do. You're so great about that. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed and you watching your girl, subscribe. Like, that's how you show me support. And if you have already subscribed, again, I love you to death. Okay, so the episode picks back up where Carlos has just asked Martell if he had met Arrionne first, would he have still married Melody? Now, it could be me, but I thought he finally did say no. And then Melody chimed in and said, "Why y'all have to chide him on? Let him answer." But he had already answered. And so then Carlos said, "You don't want to answer?" And Martell says no. But he had already answered. But I don't know, because later Kimmi and Maurice are talking about it and they say he still didn't answer. I think the man answered. I mean, maybe I'm just seeing it wrong, but it sounded to me like he said no. Carlos goes on to say that he believes Martell is in love with 2 women. And originally when he was saying something similar last week, I was kind of believing him that, yeah, I think he really, really had strong feelings for Arrionne. But the more I think about it, and then even after seeing this episode, let's be honest, Martell doesn't love Arrionne. He doesn't. And I think she realized that, which is why she bounced on him. And people keep saying she still be going back with him and all of that. I don't know that to be true. Possibly it is. But Martell doesn't love Arrionne. And I'm going to tell you why. All the evidence points to Martell loving nothing more than to have his ego stroked. That's it. He loved having that young girl doing whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, because remember, he already told us that the reason he was cheating, so to speak, was because Mel was not giving him the every time he wanted it, and this other girl was just giving it to him like all the time. That was stroking his ego. Another reason I know it was stroking his ego is because when Mel talked about the fact that this man had them pulled his back and she's taking care of him and he's crawling up the stairs or whatever to get to a phone so he can contact this girl, that's not love. When people do extreme acts like that, it's almost never love. It's almost always lust, obsession, low self-esteem and insecurities, and needing to be attached, desperation. Rarely ever is it just love. And this sounded to me like him needing that ego stroke so much. Him needing this girl's attention. Him needing to stay in communication with her. And I don't believe it had anything to do with his heart. I think it had everything to do with his ego. him having her come around Marcel and Maurice, ego. I gotta have the guys see what I'm working with. And then what further proves it for me is when Marcel says that Martell was a different type of person when he was around her. And they ask how, and he says, well, he's more aggressive. What's more egotistical than for some reason unadulterated testosterone? Like, you become aggressive and all of this and everything when you're around her because it's all about stroking your ego. It makes you feel like the big man. Another reason, though, that we know that this is all about ego for him is when Melody made the comment. She threw a little shade at the girl, which I can't blame her. You were sleeping with my husband. She threw a little shade at the girl and she said it's like a Honda versus a Rolls Royce. And see, he can call her a peasant because that makes him feel like a big man. He can call her oranges, or he can let people refer to her as coleslaw or whatever because that makes him feel like a big man. But for Melody, who he has lost and wasn't able to keep within his grasp, who kind of took a real big blow to his ego by leaving him, when she says that this girl is the Honda and she's the Rolls Royce, oh baby, he couldn't handle that. So then he, of course, throws a jab at Melody and says, well, y'all got degrees from the same place. He's such a fool. Like, it's all about his ego. He will never get over the fact that Melody left him. So on the break, she showed pictures that he had been sending to her phone. And she's talked about this before in like interviews and stuff like that. How he's constantly trying to send her pictures of the happy times and them as a family and all of this. And boy, whatever. Anyways, but all of that is about ego. It's the whole thing is just about him feeling like I can't lose. I'm supposed to leave you. You're not supposed to leave me. Like, the fact that she left, he does not know how to respond to it. And that's why he appears to be imploding, I think. I could be wrong, but let's assume I'm right. And he never wanted to give up Melody. I think Mel is 100% correct. He wanted to be able to keep dibbing and dabbling and doing both of them. And then we also learned this episode too, because Mel put it out there and he did not deny it, that if she was the whole damn restaurant, then why was he still seeing other women too? Because it had nothing to do with his heart. It had nothing to do with love. It was obsession and ego. She made him feel like the man that Melody perhaps doesn't. Because Mel has an ego of her own. And because Mel has a brain of her own and a career of her own and a builder's license of her own. All of this is just about ego for Martell. It's not about love. I don't care what anybody says. Then when he also said that being with somebody isn't about marriage, just because I'm being with her doesn't mean I will marry her if me and Mel aren't together. And Mel said, yeah, you said plenty of times that even if you not with me, you dang sure not gonna be with her. He ain't deny it. He sat there making his goofy faces. He doesn't have a committal bone in his body. He can only commit to him and his ego. That's why he keep getting bigger and bigger, no matter how much his clothes are resisting. And they're begging for mercy. But he just still keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger because that's what he needs for his ego. I ain't no therapist and I ain't no professional, but my eyes are open and my ears are open and I'm watching what you say and what you do. I'm watching when you're smiling and smirking. And when all of this first came out and when Melody first left your behind and you did a whole tour talking about how much you want your wife back and your family is broken and all of this with a big ass smile on your face. Because you enjoyed every moment of the limelight. You enjoyed every single second of the attention. And you being with these other women, in addition to Arrionne, is just more ego stroke. It really, really is. So, and I think Melody knows this. She even mentioned it, like, it's something wrong. Like, it's something wrong. He can't be satisfied. Child. Anyways, one of you said in the comments that if you were Melody, you couldn't even be cool with Carlos after how he kind of handled that first part of the reunion. And I agree. At first, I was kind of like, I think he did it like unintentionally. And I still don't think he is doing anything intentionally to hurt Melody. But I think he might have a little touch of insensitivity. You sat up there with this woman next to you and said, I think he loves two women and perhaps you were just not enough. Boy, I wish some man would sit next to me and tell me perhaps I'm not enough. And Melody got him told right immediately, like, no, oh, I'm definitely enough. Like, I don't know why he thought that was okay to say. Maybe because he's a male, but you don't tell no woman that maybe she wasn't enough. Who the hell? Excuse me? No. And see, that's the thing where a lot of women get caught up and stuck in BS, because we will sit up there and take the blame for his nonsense. Do not put it on whether or not Melody is enough, because she is enough for someone who is grateful to have her. Him not having self-control, him being greedy, has nothing to do with what her value is. Go to hell on that one, Carlos. I'm sorry. I love you, Carlos, but I ain't like that. I ain't like that at all. Anyways, where am I? I thought it was funny that, and I know y'all did too, that Maurice gonna sit up there and say that he hadn't been around her and Martell, and Marceau quickly was like, yeah. And then of course later Tisha is like, okay, so why Maurice claiming he wasn't there in Atlanta with y'all on the guys trip? Like, we all know he was there. But Maurice know he was going to get in trouble with Kimmi for that mess. And he still is, because Kimmi ain't stupid. And she's going to play this back. So, Maurice, I'm sorry, you messed up. You should have just admitted that you have been around them. I did appreciate that Tisha said, you know, she agreed that it was messed up. So whether her and Mel were friends at that time or not, from one wife to another, it's just kind of foul. It's a stinky situation. I feel Kimmi and Mel and Tisha when they say they would have left if they were around Martell and Arrionne. But I also do agree with Maurice that if you leave, you have no influence. You're 100% correct in that. But the thing is you didn't stay to influence him. That was something that sounded good, that came out your mouth so that you wouldn't look bad. Okay, let's not even pretend that you stayed there the whole time trying to convince Martell to end this relationship, because that's not what happened at all. So I get why Kimmi is still a little bit upset with you. Anyways, so you know, we learned, of course, that they had this guy's trip where Martell had Arrionne show up or whatever. Oh, he is such a clown. I love that Melody held up that clown emoji because he is such a clown. Anyway, so after the break, Destiny comes on stage. And y'all, I love the way they received her. When she came on stage and they were cheering and giving her big ups and all of that, I thought that was so sweet. You know, that kind of thing is warm and fuzzy for me, because we all be needing that kind of hypeness from our team. So if you don't be hyping your folks like that, you probably a hater. Anyways, I wasn't all that interested in Destiny's story though, so I'm sorry about that. You know, I mentioned in a couple of my videos that I thought it was interesting that she didn't even mention LeBaric's name. And I think Melody may have one time, but no one was even mentioning his name. And I can appreciate that she said she was, you know, she didn't want to do anything that would damage anything for her son. And she was actually still trying to work on it. But I wasn't all that interested in what happened there. I mean, unfortunately, some relationships don't last. And a lot of times when people have been in a relationship for a long time, and then they get married, the marriage usually doesn't last very long. I've seen so many times people who have been together 10, 12, 15 years, they get married and do not make it to the anniversary. So, I mean, you know, there's a reason why y'all didn't get married all those years. So, of course, they made some jokes about her being single, and Marceau is telling her that she has, like, man energy, and she says that she has BDE, and she's talking about it's big. I was tickled by that. I think Destiny is cool. I actually like her, and I hope she finds a dope dude who, like she says, can bring the woman out of her, because some women keep up that hard exterior, but most of us, if you actually give us something to submit to, honey, I love to submit to mine. I ain't even gonna lie. And I know a lot of women don't like that word. I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm completely safe submitting to this man. I'll have no worries because I submit to this man. And I know that's not necessarily the case for everybody, but I can be very independent. I can be very assertive. You know, I can speak my own opinion and have my own views. I can be disagreeable and all of that. But when I feel safest, when I feel the most comfortable and the most at ease, is when I have this man who I can submit to. I'm gonna leave that alone because some of y'all is not gonna like that. And y'all gonna be like, I don't need no man. And I ain't saying you do. Okay? I'm not saying I do, but I'm saying I enjoy having them. Okay, whatever. I said I was gonna leave that alone. So we learned that LeBerick filed for divorce 3 weeks after she had Law. When I tell you that is jacked up, like, I don't know what all the problems were and what all was so unforgivable within, you know, the last 9 months or so when y'all conceived this baby, and from the time she had this baby to where y'all decided that it just cannot work, or to where he decided it just cannot work. But, ooh, I mean, I'm challenged to have much respect for a man who leaves his very, very newborn child and their mother. But again, I don't know the ins and outs, so I won't stay on that too long. But it sounds very strange. Like, what was so unforgivable that you had to file for divorce 3 weeks after she had your son? And they talked about like the name issue. She never said it was that. So they were kind of annoying me that they stayed on that. And Kimmi went on this long thing about not giving Jalen his father's name, which I was like, why? And then her dad was so proud that he has his name. And I'm like, that's great for the dad, but what about Jalen's dad? Like, I don't know, whatever. Destiny never said that that was the reason why she and LeBerick got divorced. So I don't know why we spent so much time on that. It just really didn't make very much sense to me. So then Tiffany and Louis come out. Oh, shoot. My ship shopper is asking me about how ripe would I like my avocados. Tiffany and Louis come out, and Carlos is reflecting on the mean comments that have come out about Tiffany. And he is, for the second time, trying to sell us on this thing that the only reason people don't like Tiffany is because she's new and we don't like change. No, Carlos, we don't like her because we don't like her. We don't like her. We don't want her anymore. Like, it has nothing to do with her being new. And I agree that there were some people who didn't care for Destiny when she first came on the show. Like, I know some of my friends were like, I don't like the new girl. I had no problem with Destiny. I know people said stuff about Cedric, and Cedric was kind of childish. And, you know, he was cool. Like, I didn't have a problem with him being on the show. But when it comes to truly disliking, I reserve that for Tiffany. I don't like her. And I really, really wish you would really consider our feelings. I'm sorry. So Tiffany says that she's lucky she didn't jump off a cliff or whatever. But I don't see her, and I could be wrong, but I don't see her as being the sensitive type. I don't see her as being quickly impacted by comments when I feel like it was her goal to get those comments. I feel like the way she behaved, especially on her very first brunch outing with the ladies, was such that she intended to be the villain. And I hope that she understood what comes with that. So I don't necessarily have a whole lot of sympathy there. Drop down in the comments. Let me know how you feel about that. But whatever. Anyways, so Tisha is saying that, you know, Tiffany was not transparent, and she wasn't. And I'm with Kimmi. It wouldn't have really mattered to me if you don't be transparent, if you didn't keep using the freaking word transparent. Like, did this word just get added to your vocabulary right before filming? Why do you keep saying it? And it's not even true. And I'm with Marcel, and I said it in one of my previous videos. This little mess about she wanted to be there for the boy haircut, and the boy like 20. That was nothing. That was some BS that y'all sat up there and came up with so y'all could act like y'all had conflict on camera. It was such a joke. And everybody else on the cast is saying that y'all seem rehearsed, because you are. And let's get it completely 100% straight. Yes, you can give advice, and it can actually be valid if you've been married 1 year or 2 years or 6 months, or you haven't been married at all. However, you are not an expert on something that you have not experienced, okay? So you can be clear on divorce. You can be clear on what caused you to get divorced. You can have an idea of what it might take to avoid making those same mistakes. But if you have not been married 10 years, 13 years, 15 years, then you are not an expert on resolving the problems that may come in a relationship that is 10 years, 13 years, 15 years. You are not. And that's why it seems so ridiculous that this newlywed couple wants to continuously act like their marriage is better and stronger than someone's. Your marriage has yet to be tested. That's really where the strength and wisdom comes from. It's from actually being tested and overcoming those tests. So Marceau is 100% correct in my opinion. Lewis and Tiffany, hush. You are not experts on longevity in marriage. And then Lewis threw out there that, I was married 5 years before. 5 years? Boy, do you know I have a 20-year-old son? 5 years is nothing. That does not make you an expert. And you were married 5 years and it failed. Okay, many people get divorced. It happens. But for you to act like you now have the entire recipe for having a perfectly long-lasting and successful marriage when you have had one failed marriage and one newlywed marriage, you really look ridiculous. You do. You and your wife, y'all both look ridiculous. I loved when Marceau said, well, don't share your a-hole with me. He's got such like dad, old man humor, and I just loved it. That gave me life. It was so funny to me. What else happened? Oh yeah, so back to Tisha saying that Tiffany wasn't transparent, and Tiffany keeps saying ask me anything, and then of course she says, well, don't ask me stuff like that. Marceau made the best point. We shouldn't have to ask you anything. If you say you're transparent, then we can just see who you are. Because when we're around you, we'll see your actions. We'll hear your conversation. We'll see what it's like when we talk to you and all of those things. Nothing is hidden. But if we have to ask you questions, you might answer them honestly, but that's not being transparent. It's not the same thing. And again, it wouldn't be so bad if you weren't acting like other people weren't. And if you weren't acting like you had the recipe. Whatever. I spent too much time on them already because I can't stand them. Yeah, so of course there was that moment where we talk again about Destiny and LeBeric getting divorced. And Martell is saying that it's because her mouth, and no man wants a mouthy woman. No woman wants a pitiful man. What's your point? Like, what? No man wants a mouthy woman. No woman wants a cheating man. No man wants a mouthy woman. No woman wants a man who keeps failing his builder's license exam. Oh, that day go Martell. He just is not my favorite. Anyway, so those were the things that stood out the most to me. I am really looking forward to next week when we get to see Miss Van and Miss Wanda. Because obviously that's going to be a real good time. I hope Miss Van get her told. And then I know Miss Wanda just going to sit up there making a bunch of real stupid looking faces. So, but I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.